Summary of The Origin and Evolution of New Businesses by Amar V. Bhide. What makes a startup successful? Most entrepreneurs launch their companies without a revolutionary idea and without deep pockets. They often enter crowded, low-profit industries. Consider the 8 most popular types of business startups in 1996: construction, restaurant, retail store, cleaning services, real estate, car repair, consultant, and beauty salon. These industries pose few barriers to entry, because they require little training and capital. But those same factors also limit the business's profitability. So what makes a successful startup? The most profitable startups tend to move into industries more apt to produce high profits, such as computer software. Unstable industries are most hospitable to startups. A market in a state of flux makes it easier for an entrepreneur without a great idea, training, or capital to turn a profit. Research shows that entrepreneurs who start promising businesses, compared to those who start retail stores or restaurants, tend to be better educated and more affluent. They also have unusual abilities to adapt and to handle ambiguity. Copycat products. A killer concept isn't as important as you might think. One survey found that 88% of entrepreneurs attributed their success to good execution of a commonplace concept, while only 12% credited an unusual idea. Many entrepreneurs whose promising businesses succeeded started simply by copying someone else's idea. WordPerfect, for instance, started in 1978 by landing a contract with the municipality of Orem, Utah, to write a word processing program for the city. That deal brought the company enough money to develop a word processing program for mass use on the IBM personal computer. WordPerfect's product was released in 1983, a year after WordStar's word processing software came on the market. However, WordStar later stumbled with a glitch-filled version of its software. WordPerfect developed a better product and became the top word processing software. WordPerfect ultimately was sold to Novell for $885 million. Clayton Homes, which became the leading mobile home company in the US, provides another example. The company started with a copycat product. Founder Jim Clayton set up shop a few blocks from a better-known national player, and managed to nab customers on their way to his competitor's showroom. He later expanded into manufacturing by building mobile homes in an auto body shop. Clayton ultimately turned into a nationally ranked company with retail sites and manufacturing plants. In fact, the copycat concept illustrates a truism in the world of startups. Only a very few companies are revolutionary ventures, such as Federal Express. Such companies find significant new ways of looking at customer needs. Revolutionary ventures require major research and investment. While such concepts can provide a home run, the majority of entrepreneurs are better off sticking to promising businesses, defined as companies whose products aren't unique but who can do business in a hospitable market. Limited capital. If you are like a typical entrepreneur, you'll dive into your venture without innovative ideas and without an impressive resume. Typically, you won't be able to find significant capital. Like most entrepreneurs, you'll fund your venture with your own money or with loans from friends and family. A 1987 survey showed that 30% of US companies were launched with less than $5,000, while a third had more than $50,000. Startups lack guaranteed profits, so as an entrepreneur, you'll probably need investors who have faith in your vision. Because capital is limited, startups typically can't enter costly industries such as drug development, oil drilling, and national retailing. Instead, new businesses tend to be niche players in local or regional markets. Only a small number of firms receive venture capital. VC investors require significant oversight and demand hands-on participation. Promising ventures typically seek funding too early in their business cycles to appeal to VC firms. A promising venture acts first and adapts to the market later, while VCs fund more mature firms. A new venture needs long-term investment to evolve to the VC stage and beyond to a stable company. This requires strategic planning, which the new entrepreneur is unlikely to muster. Hospitable markets. When computer maker Compaq started, it immediately bashed heads with IBM. Compaq succeeded, reporting $100 million in sales its first year. However, Compaq is the exception. Microsoft, which started in a corner of the software business too small to attract attention from bigger players, is the more common story. Because of their limitations, startups must seek out markets hospitable to their weaknesses. Launching in a stable market, with established players, demands a significantly better product than is already available. In hotly competitive areas such as lawn care, everyone can provide the same services for similar prices. In established industries, relationships and reputation are key. A startup has neither. Therefore, new businesses migrate toward unsettled markets. In a new market, buyers and sellers tend to be uninformed, letting a company buy supplies cheaply and sell them expensively. In a new market, price competition is unnecessary, because demand is growing and competitors are succeeding. Customers have no established expectations, so they're easier to please than customers in a stable market. Unstable markets also let entrepreneurs sell fuzzy, intangible attributes such as trendiness and responsiveness. Lack of strategic planning. Paul Allen and Bill Gates wrote Microsoft's first software in 1974, after Allen had a brainstorm. Typical entrepreneurs, they wrote no business plan. Entrepreneurs typically don't have the money to analyze and research an industry. Instead, as an entrepreneur, you'd rely on your ability to adapt. This lack of planning is caused by a number of factors. For one, entrepreneurs tend to be confident in their own abilities and tend to underestimate the competition. For another, most have little to lose from a failed venture. Allen and Gates didn't have the ability to land high-paying jobs, so the risk they took in starting Microsoft came with little downside. Michael Dell dropped out of school to start Dell Computers. He figured that if it didn't work, he would only have lost a year of studies. Entrepreneurs tend to have previous industry experience, even if it's limited, to overcome their lack of research. Opportunistic adaptation. Without money and research, entrepreneurs rely on the concept of opportunistic adaptation. In other words, the ability to change rapidly. A number of factors can force a change in an original vision: lagging sales, falling profits, lack of growth, or the emergence of a surprising new opportunity. Small entrepreneurs must establish credibility, a demand that forces small firms to act big. The founder of Wang Communications hired an answering service and used the pronoun we instead of I to disguise the fact that he was a one-person enterprise. One entrepreneur constantly traveled to visit clients to make customers think he had a big travel budget. Another bought an expensive computer printer to hide the reality that he ran his firm from his living room. The typical entrepreneur has several personality traits. Need for achievement, which means a zest for challenges and for making decisions. Self-confidence, and a belief that the entrepreneur can control events. Embracing ambiguity, which lets the entrepreneur make decisions when future results are uncertain. A typical person is averse to ambiguity and finds that missing information makes it difficult to make a decision. Type A personality, which translates to a striving, competitive behavior pattern. In practice, such characteristics often translate to entrepreneurs' penchant for tactical ingenuity, or quick thinking to keep their businesses growing. One small rental car company solicited business from larger competitors who overbooked. Another entrepreneur called a Detroit prospect frequently from New York to say he was in town and wanted to stop by. Once the prospect finally said yes, the entrepreneur took the next flight to Detroit. International Record Syndicate, a music label, used guerrilla marketing tactics to build sales. The record company was one of the first to realize the importance of music videos and produced a show on MTV that later boosted sales: restaurants and laundromats. Restaurants and laundries are popular businesses for entrepreneurs, and have much in common. Both offer low barriers to entry and tough competition. Profits are low, and new players tend to die quickly. However, upscale restaurants offer the possibility of significant profits, though a laundry will never make more than a few $100,000. Restaurants rely on intangibles: quality of food and service, decor, the establishment's hipness, and the owner's reflected personality. Laundries, on the other hand, require none of that: buzz. Restaurant costs hinge on the owner's skill in controlling waste and managing staff. In a laundry, costs vary little. The business model for fast food restaurants differs significantly from high-end eateries. Customers don't expect the establishment to reflect the proprietor's individual touch. Instead, customers want speed, convenience, and uniformity. Case study: Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone magazine publisher Jan Wenner proved two truisms of entrepreneurship. His magazine wasn't the first of its kind, and he was inexperienced as a businessman and as a journalist. When Wenner launched his magazine, competitors such as Crawdaddy, Mojo, Navigator, R&R News, and Melody Maker already were on the market. Those publications covered rock and roll as a legitimate cultural phenomenon and sold advertising. Wenner was 21, and his experience was limited to writing a column for a student newspaper and a stint as entertainment editor of a failed publication. He started Rolling Stone with only $7,500 and regularly put out issues late. However, Wenner had several factors in his favor. He entered a new market, where he competed not against Time and Newsweek but against other inexperienced magazines that were suffering similar woes. Wenner never considered writing a business plan or studying the competition. Case study: Natcom. Natcom demonstrates a startup that began with one vision but quickly changed direction. Robert Rodriguez and Eddie Sarasola started the company in Miami in 1982, with the idea of renting ad-laden hot air balloons to car dealers. They overestimated demand for this line of business, however, and by 1989 balloon rentals made up less than 5% of Natcom's $3.9 million in sales. Instead, Natcom moved into providing balloons for grand openings and industry conventions for customers such as Eastern Airlines and Burger King. Natcom landed Burger King as a client by painting the words, Burger King, on a balloon and flying it near the chain's headquarters. That stunt won some Burger King business for Natcom. The company provided balloons at restaurant grand openings. Later, Natcom agreed to make a balloon in the shape of a Burger King Whopper for a convention. Rodriguez and Sarasola agreed, in spite of having no experience at such a project, and received a $35,000 advance from the chain. The partners were afraid that Burger King executives might want to come to their meager offices, but they managed to pull off the Flying Whopper assignment and turned it into a 2-year contract with Burger King.